Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and I'm here today at the Rock Island Auction Company, taking a look at some of the guns they're going to be selling in their upcoming May of 2019 premiere auction. Today, we're looking at a Luger. And this, from back there, looks like a totally ordinary Luger. And this is, in fact, a totally ordinary Luger, except that it was sold in France. So, because this looks totally ordinary, let's go ahead and just bring the camera in close right now while I tell you what makes this a little bit special and interesting. In the early years of the 1900s, right up until World War I, the Luger was a very popular service pistol. It was one of the best service pistols out there. High-tech, modern, reliable, just overall excellent. And this is why it was adopted by more than a few military forces, but DWM, the manufacturer, was quite happy to sell them commercially as well and did their best to sell them commercially. In addition, prior to World War I, there was a lot of trade between all the various major powers of Europe, including, of course, between France and Germany. So it shouldn't be surprising that DWM would be selling Lugers in France. Now, what's the best way to do that pre-internet? Well, a lot of it was by mail order, or at least a significant portion. And there's a company in France that was actually around for many, many decades. It became known as ManuFrance. Although at this period that we're talking about, prior to World War I, it was Manufacture Française des Armes et Cycles du St Etienne, basically the French manufacturing of guns and bicycles of St Etienne. And this was, I've heard it described, I think accurately, as like the Sears Roebuck of France. They had this massive paper catalog, and you could mail order just about anything, including guns and bicycles, which were some of their major products. But you know, furniture, ammunition, sewing machines, dishware, like anything. Think of, well, Sears Roebuck in its earlier days in the United States. And ManuFrance, as I'll just refer to them as that, ManuFrance offered a variety of different pistols, of French make, of American make, of German make, Austrian, you name it. And they were a big enough sales agent that DWM was actually willing to engrave their name on pistols that were sold by ManuFrance. And this was true of other companies as well, and you'll see that throughout history. There are, like, for example, in the 1950s and 60s, there are a lot of relatively inexpensive .22 caliber rifles that were sold through companies, well, companies like Sears, like Montgomery Ward's, that would have those companies' names specifically engraved into the guns. So it was kind of a way to recognize a major retailer and give them a little bit of cachet. So this is really tiny writing, but you can actually see it there on the top, Manufacture Française des Armes et Cycles du St Etienne. And this is one of the pistols that was actually sold by what became ManuFrance in France. Now the gun itself is a totally standard 1906 pattern, new model, commercial Luger. It shouldn't be confused with like the French Army Trials guns, which have a few unique and different features to them. This is the exact same model of pistol that Germany was selling on the commercial market everywhere, including the United States. The serial numbers at this point are 5 digits long. They don't have a prefix or a suffix. And the ones that were sold to France are going to fall into the range of between basically the high 40,000s and the low 50,000s. There isn't a specific serial number range for French pistols. Simply when ManuFrance placed an order for a batch of guns, DWM would grab the next batch off the rack and mark them on the barrel and then ship them off. The company stocked and sold both 9mm, and this is a 9mm example, and 7.65mm pistols, so both 4-inch and 4 3/4-inch barrels. And there's a bit of misinformation out there, in particular in the English-speaking collector world, about exactly how many of these there were. There were not many, however, there were more than most people think. In fact, I was able to find some reference to the original ManuFrance commercial records, which show us that these were first introduced in 1909. The first sales were in 1910. They were sold until they were actually sold through World War I. They were basically out in 1915. When World War I started, they were, of course, unable to get more pistols in, but the company had guns in stock, and so they continued to make sales in 1914 and 1915. In total, they sold 236 Luger pistols between 1909 and 1915, and in fact, we even know the rough spread there was 1 year of production where the records don't differentiate between calibers, and that was 61 guns. However, for the remainder, they're split 102 in 7.65 caliber and 115 in 9mm, so roughly a 50-50 split between the two different calibers. Now, what's also interesting is the same batch of records has numbers on broom handle Mauser C96 pistols and also Mannlicher automatic pistols sold by ManuFrance because, like I said, they stocked a wide variety of different modern handguns. And what we see is that the number of Mannlichers, 1905 Mannlichers sold, is virtually identical to the number of Lugers, and both of those add up in total to about the same number as broom handles. So if you total up the Mausers, Mannlichers, and Lugers, which are the main European automatic pistols that were being sold, you will get about a 50% rate of those being broom handle Mausers, and then 25% Lugers and 25% Mannlichers. And, by the way, the price on these was 110 franc for a Luger. The broom handle Mauser was a little bit cheaper at 100 franc. So I think your question was, do you want the slightly cheaper Mauser, or do you want what I think is pretty conclusively the better but slightly more expensive Luger pistol? Aside from the retailer marking on the barrel, there's not a whole lot else unique on here. It does have a standard DWM logo on the toggle, as you would expect. Our serial number on this one is 47,492, which fits right into the range we would expect for these guns. On the bottom of the barrel, we have the standard proof marks. That 5.35, that's actually a measure of bore diameter in terms of gauge, which is a little bit odd, but that's what DWM was putting on the gun. So we have the serial number again, and then you can see 92 there, 92 there, a lot of the small parts, which are happily matching, the toggles matching. The one unusual bit is that there are a pair of additional numbers that have been stamped aftermarket into the gun. We have 576 on the back of the grip, and we have 9534 on the bottom. And to be honest, I'm not sure what those are. There's a possibility one of them might be a ManuFrance inventory number, but it doesn't quite seem right for it. I don't know what those numbers are. There's something else. There aren't a whole lot of these floating around, obviously. If you would like to have this particular one for your own collection, check out Rock Island's catalog page. You can see their pictures of it. Not that there's a whole lot of special stuff there that you'll need to take a look at, as well as their description, their price estimate. You can place a bid online if you like, and you can check out everything else that they also have in the upcoming sale. Thanks for watching.